The world is hurting right now, and it's time to rise up. As we lift ourselves up in body, mind, and spirit, we can reach out to others and be a light in a sea of darkness. Welcome to the Movement for Global Health with your host, Dr. Mary Zennett.
We are good. Dr. Dolores Fazzino has dedicated her life to bridging the world of spirituality and wellness. She is a healer, a medical intuitive, and a visionary with over 40 years experience in healthcare. She earned a Doctor of Nursing practice in 2008 from Case Western University, one of the top nursing programs in the nation. Recognizing the many gaps in healthcare, Dr. Dolores Fazzino takes us beyond the mind-body paradigm and integrates spirituality in wellness. She is a highly talented and powerful coach and healer, and we are absolutely privileged to welcome her today.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mary. I so appreciate that, and Happy New Year to you and to your audience.
Yes,
it's been a ride, hasn't it?
We're fastened our seatbelts, and yep. But this is a perfect opportunity to really launch in the new year and be in alignment and stay grounded. But it sounds like this is a huge opportunity to spread our wings and in ways that I think we may have never thought possible.
Very true. And my tagline is healing in ways you never thought possible, which is interesting. And I love my tagline because how many times do each of us individually think that we have it all figured out, and we got these blinders on and we're going down this path and we're missing what is possible that's the blinders are hiding. There's many ways to accomplish things. It's not just a one straight path. There's many times people get sick, and that's a given. We're human beings and our physical bodies, and we nourish it and stuff like that. It's a beautiful alchemy of the mind, body, spirit, and it all working together. It's not compartmentalized and everything's in a separate box. And being in Western medicine trained myself, and I believe you are as well, Dr. Mary, is that we've been taught that things are in boxes and they don't communicate with each other, but that's not true. They do.
And is that what you mean when you say a glimpse of what to expect, healing that you never thought possible?
Exactly. And, I'm going to just share a very brief story. I'll try to make it very brief, but, believe it or not, I was on a trajectory as a young person to become a concert clarinetist. And in the 11th hour, I changed my, my educational track. And it was because my father, who had been ill for a very long time, and this goes back during the 1960s and 70s, before we had a lot of the advanced technology that we have today and all the medications and stuff, he ended up getting a hospital-acquired infection with a back surgery back in the 60s and had every so often he would just get very violently ill. And what was happening was when his immune system got compromised, his body would react and form abscesses in his abdominal cavity. So this went on for about 4 different times. And each time this happened, he was in the hospital for at least 2 months on his deathbed. And so my mother was not happy with what Western medicine was providing for her. And this is back in the 1970s at this time. So this is way before what we have today and what is even accepted more so today than ever. And so what happened was she ended up doing some reading. And at the time, the Google of the day was the National Enquirer. Okay. That was like where you got all your information, because we didn't have electronic and all the Google searches that we have today. But they were featuring an article about a minister from Carroll, Michigan, who had the gift of laying on of hands. And at that time, in about 1975, he had been doing this type of work for over 25 years with a high success rate. In fact, he assisted his brother in healing from leukemia. So that's why they were featuring him. And my mom was fascinated by this and said, this is what we need to do. We need to get this man to come to see, your father. So of course, my dad, being the skeptic that he was, he should have been from Missouri, because you needed to show me what was going on. He said to my mom, only if the surgeon agrees. So at that time, my mother and father were both in the hospital. My dad was, an inpatient. The surgeon that they were working with was sitting at the nurse's station. Yeah. So my mom went out to the nurse's station, and the surgeon was there, and she announced to the surgeon, I'm thinking about having a spiritual healer come in to assist my husband with his condition. Would that be okay? Surgeon's writing, didn't miss a beat, looked up at her and said, sure, that's fine. Those were the words that my mom needed. So my mom went back into my dad's room and shared that news. Not 10 minutes go by, Dr. Mary. My mom goes back out to that nurse's station, same surgeon sitting there. She announced to the surgeon, my husband agreed to have the spiritual healer to come to make a visit. He dropped his pen and looked up and said, what are you talking about? I never agreed to that. That's what I call a God moment, when there's like a opportunity for the spirit to come in to speak to somebody to do that. So of course, my mother didn't share that piece of the information with my father. And a month later, Reverend Holmes came to our humble little home in Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut. I'm a New Englander, and I currently live in San Diego, and I've been here for the last 35 years. But anyway, so what happened was he came to our home, and at that time I was like 17, Junior, and my brother, and my 2 sisters and my 2 grandmothers were there. The minister was a very humble, but I loved his energy. I don't know how he knew this, but he looked at my father and said, one of your legs is shorter than the other, which we all knew, because my dad used to wear a lift in his shoe, but he was barefooted in his slippers and no lifts or anything. So he had my father lift both his feet up, and you could tell that there was like a 1-inch gap when he put a book there. He had my dad lower his legs, and he said some prayers over my father, touched his belly, his solar plexus, basically in the top of his head, his crown chakra. And he said some prayers, and he had maybe 3 minutes passed. He said, now put both your legs up. And in that moment, both his legs were the same length. Now, you remember, my father was the skeptic. He needed to see something tangible so he could start believing.
Exactly.
And so he started bawling like a baby. And that's one of the 5 times that I probably saw him break down emotionally ever in my life. And at that time, I just knew that it was my initiation that what I was witnessing was something that I needed to share with the world, and also to integrate that into health and wellness. So it was a life changer, my initiation. And I knew from that point I needed to go into healthcare. And so I've dedicated my life to bridging what can be seen and what can't be seen, the physical with the spiritual, in order to offer hope and healing for people.
That is remarkable.
And the best part was, after that was complete, My father went back to the hospital and they ran studies. They showed no evidence of where he had the infection that he had back in the 60s. He never had to revisit that problem. And he actually passed away about 10 years ago at the age of 80.
Wow. And he had good quality of life?
Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's a miracle.
It was a miracle. I witnessed a miracle.
You witnessed a miracle. Exactly.
I did. And, you know, just the way the universe orchestrated that through that one physician, you know, giving the permission basically, and then having no recollection of it. I just crack up about that because I knew exactly what that was like a God moment. Something happened on a bigger scheme that allowed it to line up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so
that is remarkable.
Thank you, Dr. Mary. And when you're open to receiving that information and you follow through on it, this is where the miracles in life happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's learning how to trust that wisdom that we all have, that inner knowingness, you know, that
and
voice
is that what you
to us.
Mean that inner knowingness?
Yep. Yeah. We all have intuitive abilities. We have been programmed in our world and society not to trust that, to give our power away to something outside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, you know, we see this in healthcare a lot. And I could say this because I witnessed this personally and professionally, how people give their power away to, you know, the physician because they think they know what they know. But you know what? You as an individual have lived in your Taj Mahal for your entire life. If you're tuned into what's going on and tuned into listening what your body is telling you, you could tell whether or not this is in alignment with what you need or not. And I think this is the missing piece in our health and wellness today. People weren't, you know, listening to that piece.
Well, and you know, we live in a world where it's so noisy. Yeah. It's very hard to disconnect so you can start getting in touch again with yourself, your own. But don't you see that it's like part of the work that you do? You're helping people to have that quiet time.
Exactly.
To begin to trust. I mean, the noise level is,
it's very distracting. And, you know, I don't know.
Extremely.
Yeah. And I don't know if you witnessed this too. You know, we all lived through the whole COVID thing. I found it very interesting when COVID kind of began and went down, basically, where everything was on lockdown for the first 2 weeks. And people just, you know, I'm going to preface this with, we've always been in motion. Yes. Constantly in motion, constantly distracted.
Yes.
Constantly thinking that in order to look like we're productive members of society, we have to be in doing mode all the time, which is pretty stressful. We know that when we're always trying to make something happen, you're in constant fight or flight, and you're in fight all the time.
That's right.
Okay? That's stress. That's a lot of stress. And, you know, you can't keep moving in that direction without repercussions. And you and I both know this, that when you have stress and anxiety, your immune system gets compromised. When your immune system gets compromised, it's a setup for catching a lot of different things.
Absolutely. And it's like you said, it's doing, go, 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 go. But then what happened with COVID, but some people embraced the being.
Exactly. Yes.
Some of them embrace, I need to chill. Yeah. But then others succumbed to the fear. And so it's like going from one extreme to the other, and none of which is good for your immune system.
Absolutely. And, you know, to add to that too, it was interesting. My observation was is that some people just couldn't be by themselves. Right. They needed to be distracted. So to me, that was really telling, because it's like, it's about having a relationship with ourselves. And
Mhm.
I always tell this to my clients is that, the longest relationship you're ever going to have in your life, believe it or not, is the one with yourself.
That's right.
And it's just like, and how's that going? It's just like, how are you treating it? Are you treating it like your best friend, or are you beating the hell out of it, trying to, keep up with everybody and everything that's on the outside? Or are you coming within and loving and nurturing and being your own advocate? It's extreme self-care, but it's a necessity. It's the foundational piece that's going to allow people to thrive and move beyond surviving.
Mhm. It really is. It really
Yeah.
is. And I don't think so, we got out of that COVID phase, but there's still a tremendous amount of residual.
There's a lot of
deep
fear.
scarring. Oh, yes.
There's a lot of
Yes.
fear still. Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
people you're working with, you're doing all you can to empower them to
Absolutely.
embrace themselves.
Absolutely. And the thing is that there's no bypass. Okay. There's no magic pill to take. You have to be brave and courageous and take a step into it and claim your power.
Exactly.
It's your sovereign right as a human being. And the thing is, so many of us have just given away to, things outside of ourselves. And it's kind of interesting now to look at, I'm still in the healthcare industry. I assist in surgery as an assistant surgeon, but I also have my coaching practice and stuff like that, because I like to keep a foot into that world, just to observe and to assist in any way that I can with people and empowering them to take their power back. And I've seen a lot of people, you talk about the great resignation. A lot of people have decided to take their power back and just decided that enough is enough. I can't be going in this direction anymore. It's no longer aligned with who I am. I'm not being respected, valued, or appreciated for what I bring to the table. So they're out of there. And I don't blame them. I say, bravo, good for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that is true, validating yourself.
Absolutely.
And you know what? We're all born with a mission and a purpose and things, gifts that we have, and no two of us have the same gifts.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so delicious and wonderful, because what's going to work for one person may not work for somebody else. That's why it's great to have all these choices. And it's about us individually learning how to tap into what we're leaning into and interested in, because that's a hint that maybe that's where we need to go. So it's teaching people how to embrace that intuition, that intuitive part of themselves, to make the right choices for them, not for everybody else, but for them individually.
And is that part of what you mean by trusting your inner wisdom?
Absolutely, Dr. Mary. Absolutely. Yeah. Because we have been told, oh, that's just airy fairy and it's not, realistic. It's not evidence-based. It's evidence-based for me. And I've been in a world where they really practice Western medicine, everything is perfect the way it is. Everything has its good things and its not so good things. And the thing is that when people, it's just information. It's like, it's about you aligning with what feels right for you.
Exactly.
It's about feeling too. We've also, have learned how to intellectualize our emotions, keep them way up in our head and think about it instead of actually being in your physical body and experiencing them.
I want to talk more about that, because you talk about embracing all your emotions.
Yes.
And now I want to share so that people, because I know some people are saying, well, I can easily get derailed by my emotions. So how do I embrace all of our emotions?
I'm just going to elaborate on just emotions before I really get into the meat and potatoes of this, Dr. Mary, because I think this is important. Emotions have been given a bad rap in our society. We have been told from an early age, don't feel. I know I grew up in a household where my mom's MO was ignore it, it'll go away.
Mm-hmm.
And it never went away because energetically it never was experienced.
Exactly.
So it's still lingering.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of times when people have PTSD, this is what's happened. It's like the fear or whatever has been locked away in a time and a place.
Wow.
Now, fast forwarding to now is that sometimes we get triggered and things come up, and sometimes it's not the pleasant things you want to be experiencing. I encourage people in your audience to experiment with this. Okay. So that emotion is part of who you are and an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of trying to stuff it away, put it in a box and put it on a shelf and save it for later or ignore it or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I embrace you to take it out of the box and just embrace it and love it like your favorite pet, your favorite child, your favorite grandchild, your favorite thing. Just love it up because it's a part of you that wants to come back to home to be reintegrated with you. It's very shamanic in its aspect, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's calling back parts of yourself so it could be reintegrated within yourself. So number one, you become more complete and whole within yourself and you're more present in your body.
So you're saying don't put a lid on it, don't put the covers on it, and don't pretend. Don't pretend everything's fine when it's not.
Exactly.
When it's not.
People, when people, for me, I could tell looking at somebody what's going on. That's one of my gifts as a medical intuitive.
Right.
And it's just like, it's all feel. For me as a medical intuitive, I'm very fluent in reading energy. So it's like you're able to feel and sense what's going on and give them insight as to, have you ever considered this? And, I've noticed this, what's going on, and all of a sudden the tears come, because it's like, it's been it's been identified. I wouldn't say labeled, identified.
Right.
And now they could do something with it because it's like, it's an unconscious thing that's driving a person to do things. And what's beautiful of what's happening in this moment of time is that the unconscious is becoming conscious. Okay. A lot of light is being shown onto our planet. So we're seeing all the stuff that's been covert and hidden, individually, but also globally, as what's happening in governments and, the things that have been going on for eons. The big beacon of light is shining in. So once the light is shining in, it can't hide anymore. The good thing is now we have a choice and we could do something about it, clean it up and move forward.
Yes. It's profound. It's a profound moment in history.
Absolutely.
It really is.
And we're all here witnessing it and experiencing it.
Yeah, and you know what? We're supposed to be here.
Absolutely.
Because I hear people say, this is because it is challenging. We're evolving. So of course, every aspect of our life, there's like an old part and a new part. There's a lot of, how would you say, stepping outside our comfort zones.
Oh, without a doubt, Dr. Mary, it's really about, it's like you're on the fringes of your comfort zone. And, for those who are brave of heart, I invite you to take a dive into it. For others, it might be just stick your toe in. It's okay. But it's just like, it's like, be courageous, be brave. We chose to be here at this time. And the thing is that, people are like, oh no, well, yes, it was a choice, believe it or not. Before we incarnated, we made that choice to be here. And I shake my hand at the universe sometimes saying, what was I thinking?
What? But then you know what? I hear some other courageous souls saying, I wouldn't miss a moment. And believe me, the circumstances are not easy. The life is not easy, but they say, I would not miss a moment.
And I'm growing into that because, I
Yes.
think many of us who are on this path right now have had some very challenging years in our early years that we've had to overcome things and move forward. And what's beautiful about it is that once you get to the other side of it and you look back and you could see how everything lined itself up to get to where you're at. And, you know, many of us are now teaching people, helping people maneuver through things that we all went through because we didn't have any reference point. We had to experience it and live it. Now we could teach it. So I know, Mary, you're probably aligned with this, is that I don't expect people to do things or that I haven't personally done myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I know, you know, I've been there, I know, I feel it, and I experience it. And now it's time for me to light the pathway for you, to encourage you to walk.
Exactly. And you know what, Dr. Dolores, everybody's circumstances are different, but we're united. Like you say, we had our early upbringings. We needed tremendous obstacles. And now these past few years, it's really been extremely challenging. But what we're doing and what I'm hearing you say is be less focused on the externals and put the spotlight on the internal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Your own inner self, your knowing what you're here for. Where are you at this moment in your life? And what should you be doing that would more enrich you, that's part of your own purpose and destiny?
That's very true. And in order to be able to listen to that, you have to be able to quiet the noise. Okay. And the thing is that sometimes it's a nanosecond to nanosecond thing. And it's very possible. It's about learning how to do mindful activities. A mindful activity may be learning how to meditate. That's not the only mindful activity. Being out in nature, if you're like an animal person, connecting with animals in nature. Let me tell you, if you take a walk in nature and animals cross your path, they're giving you messages. It's a very, I go back to the shamanic thing, but animals carry messages. You're able to commune with nature. If you observe nature, they're in harmony with their environment. They really are.
Yes.
They're in being mode versus doing mode.
Wow. Well, that's a really important tip, being in touch with nature.
Yep.
What others? What are some others?
Plants, talking about nature, spend time in a garden. If you're able to, even if you live in an urban or in the city, you could have a patio and just get some plants and garden. You do an herb garden or something like that. But also, I invite you to turn off the news, turn off the electronic devices. Make sure that you leave your phone home sometimes. You know, it's like, this is like an appendage that we grew. It's so
true.
I'm guilty of this myself, but the thing is that I really make it a conscious effort to, sometimes leave the phone in the house and go out in the backyard. Believe me, my emails and my messages will be there later.
They will be there. I think that's so important. And you know what, Dr. Dolores, all this electromagnetic radiation is not the best for us anyway. It's our inner being.
Absolutely. And how many people, put their phones in their clothing, like their pockets?
I know.
And, it's great now that we have like Bluetooth technology, but when we used to put it up to your phone, that can't be good for you.
No.
So it's just like, be mindful of where you're putting your phone too, because you might start having challenges with your health in those areas.
Mhm.
So, which is an interesting thing too. So that's another conversation, but it's funny. We're more in the moment with our electronic devices than we are with ourselves.
We are. So what I'm hearing you say is, it's a must to shut this off
I think so.
on a regular basis.
I would, if it's difficult for people to do it, I just invite you to take baby steps. Do it for 15 minutes.
Exactly.
Do it for 15 minutes every couple of hours. Set the timer and just
Exactly.
walk away, sit on your couch, just be quiet and just allow yourself to sit in the quiet.
Exactly. Be
Sometimes,
present.
sometimes for some people, being in a car driving is a very mindful activity, as long as they're not blasting AC/DC in the background, or, if they are, they're consciously doing that. I mean, but my point is that sometimes sitting in silence is where you are actually being, but you're receiving those golden nuggets that
That's right.
lead you to the next place that you need to go.
Dr. Dolores, while we're talking about this, tell us about your book. You wrote an amazing itty bitty book.
I did, and it was published in October of 2022, and it made Amazon bestseller. And it's about, I call it Healing in Ways You Never Thought Possible, 15 Tips to, I have to get this because it's such a long title. It says 15 tips. There we go.
I see it. Healing
Yeah.
in ways you never thought possible. 15 key steps to manifesting true health and lasting wellness.
Yes, and it's available on Amazon. But what it is, it's one of those books that you could actually put in your backpack, your purse, or whatever, and keep it with you. And just even when you're going through anything that's stressful or is pushing your buttons,
Yes.
people have said that they've used this, they just get it out and just open it randomly, and it's just, they get what they need. It's one of those books that it's very short, sweet, to the point, very pointed, meaning that it's not like a big novel or a big book, because let's face it, our attention span today is like, so less is actually more. So if you're able to get your point across in concise units,
yes,
people will embrace it and learn it. I've written several other books and they were much longer, and I'm just finding that short, sweet, and to the point. It's like the KISS approach. Keep it simple, sweetie. You know what I'm saying? We make things way more complicated than they have to be. And that creates so much drama and chaos.
and anxiety.
And it's just like, is it really necessary? It's not.
No, it's not.
And it's just retraining people to look at it from that perspective, because once you're in your physical body, you're more grounded in yourself, and you're just more, you're in your body. But interesting, you probably experienced this too, Dr. Mary. It's like once you're there, it's like you're actually everywhere.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you have this expanded awareness, but you're planted right in your body instead of you being out there in your head, because you're grounded. And that's huge, because you could make in the moment decisions, and you could trust that inner wisdom, because that's when you're able to tap into that. And that's when you're able to experience your emotions and then determine what you're going to do with it. Instead of reacting, you're more contemplative.
Wow. So before we close, how can our listeners get in touch with you and learn more about you?
They're welcome to go to my website. It's drdoloresfazzino.com. And I also have a free gift, and I'm going to leave the link for that too. And that is a guided meditation that helps you stay in the present moment.
Oh.
And it's a very short and sweet one. It's probably maybe 7 minutes total. And that's what I mean by short and sweet. It's very doable. And I invite people to sign up for that and to get a copy of it because it's free, and just use it whenever you feel like you're getting rattled or you're not in your body, and you're going to notice a huge difference after you experience that.
Is that right on your website?
It is, but I'm also going to leave the link for it as well.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's
beautiful.
there. So yeah. And my book's available on my website, and through the website, you can get to where it is on Amazon, but I also have several others too that people might be interested in. It's, if you're ready to make some changes in your life and embrace who you are, I'm the person for you that could help you. I've helped a lot of people.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, everything you've spoken about here is doable for every single one of us. Because I hear too many, in our minds, it's like, oh, I can't afford this. I can't. And I get it. Trust me, I truly get it. However, you can afford to take time for yourself. These resources that you're talking about, that meditation is free. You're giving a gift. You're giving a gift and a little itty bitty book. How reasonable is that? But there's pearls in there.
That's right. And the thing is like, it's a new year, a new beginning.
Yes.
And, if people want to create more certainty in their life in an uncertain world, it's time to come within to exercise and develop that muscle. We all have that capability. It's, I look at it as a continuum. You either have not accessed it or you're fully accessed it, and everybody's along that way. And even when you get to, the other end of it, you're going to be blown away because you're still going to be learning stuff.
Yes.
It's like, I learn new stuff every day. It's just mind-boggling. I had to crack up because, I work with a lot of people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, and I'm in my 60s, and I have to crack up when a 20-year-old tells me this. It's like, well, I'll be doing this another three months, and I'll know everything. And I looked at them and I said, well, you know what? You may want to change your mentor. I said, because at my age, I still haven't learned everything, and I'm learning something every day. I just had to laugh. It was so funny.
I know. But see, that's a limiting belief. It's limiting because you're thinking, oh, I'll know everything. Really?
Exactly. Well, good for you. It's like, could I touch you? But that's just not how it works. But I have to chuckle because it's like, I'm entertained daily. It's
exactly.
And I love people too. So it's just like, you just have to love human nature. But yeah,
it's so true. All right. Well, it has been a joy having you.
Thank you, Dr. Mary.
Dr. Dolores.
I appreciate
Any final
the opportunity
for the audience.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, please just be gentle with yourself. You're on a journey, and just take baby steps. And sometimes it just takes that first baby step in order to create something different. And just be brave and courageous. And you just also know that you're loved more than you can imagine.
That's so powerful. And again, this is so significant at the start of the new year, 2023.
Yeah, absolutely.
So significant. So we'll have your resources below, and I encourage all of our listeners to get them, embrace what you're learning in them, and share with others. Share with others. There's so many people who would so greatly benefit from these resources that Dr. Dolores is offering, and your wisdom and your insight.
Thank you so much, Mary. I appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience.
All right, then. All right. You have a wonderful day. Thanks again, Dr. Dolores.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.